Alright, so welcome to another breakdown. This is the final prelim of the card, UFC Auckland, tomorrow. So I just want to get this out here, and just before Saturday, move on to the main card, because there's actually much better fights in terms of betting on the main cards rather than the prelims. So Jalin Turner, he is 6'3", 75-inch reach, and he's a huge lightweight. He's probably the biggest lightweight on the roster. In terms of size, and he uses that size well in terms of kickboxing, because he is a long-rangey kickboxing. He likes to stay behind his jab and pick the opponent off. He did lose against Mafia. He sort of showed that he doesn't really have the best takedown defense, but he does have some level of ground game, because he managed to escape from bottom and get back up on his feet, and maybe he was sinking up a few triangles and arm bars against Mafia, who's sort of he's a good wrestler, which was a good look, because he is primarily a kickboxer, and to have some decent level of grappling isn't bad, as he does. He knocked out Callum Porter in 53 seconds. He just ran over him, as Callum Porter is fighting Canadian Song last Saturday, so I had to watch that fight a few times just to get different reads on it and stuff, and he just destroyed him. That fight was at 155, so he's returned back to 155. He originally made his UFC debut at 170 when he came in on short notice and faced Vicente Luque, arguably one of the best strikers at 170, which it sort of wasn't a fair matchup, especially at a weight class above, and he just Jalin Turner actually did start well in that fight. He was jabbing up Vicente Luque, and you could see it on Luque's face that he was a wee bit damaged from the jab and stuff, but eventually the pressure got to Jalin Turner, and Luque managed to knock him out pretty viciously, and I thought it was a late stoppage from Dan Mergliata in that one. Jalin Turner he basically got inflicted a few punches that he shouldn't have really. The fight should have been stopped sooner. But even still, nevertheless, he didn't knock out, he won by TKO against Max Mustaki. In the Contender Series, this was sort of wild matchup. Mustaki just had no solution for what Jalin Turner was doing. There was no path to victory, really, I couldn't see. Jalin Turner's just a much better striker. But saying that, Jalin Turner is 1-2 in UFC. He is still very green in terms of MMA. He's only 24. He's only have 13 fights overall in his MMA career. He's 8-13. So he is not the highest standard of lightweight. Currently says on Topology he's 80th best MMA lightweight fighter, which is sort of weird, but he's not the highest level fighter to bet on, especially if you are looking to bet on him this weekend. So we'll look at Joshua Culibao here. He is stepping in on 1 week's notice, and he is a featherweight. So he is moving up in this fight, because it is on short notice. I think it's the first time you'll be fighting at lightweight. Yeah, it is. So first time at lightweight against the biggest lightweight on the roster. I think it's a sort of hard task for Joshua Culibao, even though he is fighting sort of his home. Well, obviously it's in New Zealand, but he's from Australia, so he doesn't really have to get amalgamated to the climate and stuff like that or anything. It currently says on Topology he is the first ranked featherweight in Australia and New Zealand, which is interesting in terms of regional rankings. He's 5'10", but I'm not entirely sure he is 5'10", because sometimes they get the height, they measure it wrong. So he may be he may be 5'9" or 5'8", because he doesn't really look 5'10" to me. I don't know. And I'd need to see him stand beside Jalin Turner, but Jalin Turner will have a major height advantage and reach advantage in this. from what I noticed, I watched a few of Joshua Calibo's fights on the regional scene. You can find him up on YouTube and stuff like that. He actually is a pretty good fighter. Like, um, I think he will actually be a decent fighter, UFC's featherweight rankings or featherweight division. But I think he's coming up against too hard of a task here in Jalin Turner. Um, what I noticed is Joshua Calibo likes to stay on the outside. So sort of have his back up against the cage, and then explode, sort of into takedowns and their combinations and all. And I just don't think he'll be able to negate the distance against Jalin Turner. I just can't see it, because obviously Jalin Turner does like to fight long, and he is 6'3" in comparison to Calibo's 5'10". So he does have he does have to fight in the inside, Calibo does, which he doesn't normally do. So I think he is sort of at a disadvantage immediately on the feet in this one. And also, it'd be interesting if Calibo does take Turner down, because fighters have gave Turner problems on the ground, like Mafrovola. And actually Calibo is decent on the ground. I've seen it in some of his regional fights. He has a few TKOs from Mount and stuff. He does use some of his wrestling in fights. He's not entirely a kickboxer, but if you watch that Rodolfo Marquez fight, he knocks his head off, so he does. Joshua Calibo just head kicks him. It's crazy knockout. It's actually really, really nice knockout. But as I say, I think Calibo is good, but it's just a hard task for his UFC debut. I know from statistically speaking that fighters making their UFC debut usually lose, so they on their debut around 65% of the time. I think it is 65-70%, somewhere in that region, which is interesting. So I would give Jalin Turner the advantage in this fight, and that's my pick. My pick is Jalin Turner. I think he's gonna stay on distance and just rack up points against Joshua Calibo, who's coming in 1 week's notice. And from what I've seen, Turner's cardio does seem to hold up, even if he is grappling or striking. It doesn't really matter, even though he is primarily a kickboxer. His cardio does hold up for a big guy that has a big cut down to 155, and he does have a 4-inch reach advantage. So he does. Jalin Turner. I'm just looking at some of Jalin Turner's stats. He does land 5.6 significant strikes per minute, which is quite good. That's quite active. So he's active on the feet. He absorbs 4.69 per minute, which isn't the best. He does take a lot of punches because he keeps his head on the center line. He doesn't really have that much head movement because he is so tall, which obviously got him into problems against Vicente Luque, just an elite kickboxer. But yeah, my pick is for this fight Jalin Turner by decision. Actually, I don't think he does get the finish in this fight. From what I've seen, Calibo does have a decent chin. He's obviously yet to be stopped in his pro MMA career and amateur MMA career, according to the Topology. So I do think Turner wins by decision. I just think he can stack up points by staying on the outside and using his range. Now, if we look at the odds, just outright, sort of my breakdown is reflected on, or the odds sort of are reflected on my breakdown. You can currently get Jalin Turner 1-2, which is -200. I'm not sure. I definitely wouldn't take the money line with this one, because I sort of think that you can't trust Jalin Turner as a 1-2 favourite over any UFC fighter, even if they are short notice, because he's hard to trust in that regard. You can't really trust him entirely, as shown in the Mafrovola fight, where he was the longer fighter and he did have sort of a stand-up advantage. He still couldn't prevent Mafrovola from taking him down. But even still, Mafrovola is a lightweight, and he's pretty decent lightweight compared to Joshua Culibao, who is an Australian regional featherweight coming in short notice. But if we just look at the props here, which I sort of seen was interesting, you can currently get Jalin Turner to win by decision at 7-2. I think that's really good odds, I'll not lie. Because you can't see a scenario where he wins this fight by decision. So what I'm thinking is that if I'm up on the night, if my two bets so far, Shayna Dobson to win outright and Kai France pull out, or sorry, they come out for me, that comes through, I was thinking about taking Jalin Turner just 1 unit by decision, because I think it is pretty, I don't think it's as risky as the odds indicate, and I think you can definitely get value there. So as I say, if I am up on the night through live betting and also pre-fight betting, I am going to take a stab at Jalin Turner by decision, 1 unit, just 1 unit max, because you never know. You just can't trust Jalin Turner really, but overall I do think he wins this fight by decision. Joshua Culibao is, I sort of think it's just a hard fight for him stylistically. He's coming up against the biggest lightweight, and he's originally a 145er. He relies being on the outside, which I think is a red flag immediately, because you don't want to be on the outside against Jalin Turner. You want to be on the inside, exchanging like sort of short combinations and closing the distance at all times. Joshua Culibao doesn't really do that, and I do think if Culibao does take him down, Jalin Turner, he relies on his explosiveness and his strength to get up off the ground, as seen with the Mafrovola fight. Mafrovola constantly takes him down, but Jalin Turner does manage to sweep him and use the cage to get the fight back on the feet again, which I think he will do if Culibao takes him down in this fight. So that is my pick for Jalin Turner versus Joshua Culibao. It is a risky fight, but as I say, I'm not taking the money line. I will take the prop. Jalin Turner to win by decision at 7-2. If we just fire out in the implied probability calculator, the bookies are giving Jalin Turner 22% to win by decision, but I would say that it's definitely higher. I could see it in the 40s range, because unless Jalin Turner just goes balls to the wall for the finish from the opening bell, I think his fight does go to the judges' scorecards, because Culibao does have a decent chin. And Turner, he's not necessarily the biggest finisher. Well, he is, but when he's coming up against high-level opponents, he hasn't finished them, like Mafrovola. But you know, I do think Culibao is a decent fighter, especially to be coming in on 1 week's notice. As Topology says, he is the #1 ranked Australian and New Zealand regional featherweight. But I can't see possible victory for Turner, so my pick is Jalin Turner by decision. So hope you enjoyed it, and tune in for the next breakdown, which I'll be breaking down Zabara Tukugov versus Kevin Aguilar. And the main card is very intriguing for me, because there's definitely more betting opportunities than the last 3 fights, where I've sort of passed, because I haven't really saw a big betting opportunity, and I like to be conservative with my MMA bets. But as I say, if I am up on the night, then I'm going to take a stab at Jalin Turner by decision. So that is my official pick, and I'll see you in the next breakdown.